When I received my $6,800 year-end bonus, I was having dinner with the heads of our 120 most important partners. When they learned that I, who provides all their services, only received such a small bonus, the atmosphere at the table turned awkward. Meanwhile, my colleagues were spamming the group chat because they received $150,000 bonuses. They were showing off their wealth. I finished my dinner calmly. 7 days later, my contract expired. I quit smoothly. My boss's screams almost burst through the phone. Why? Why? They all withdrew their investments. 7 days before my contract expired. The dinner was at the Grand Central Plaza Hotel. Those sitting here control 90% of Innova Network's revenue. They are the heads of 120 partner companies. I am the one responsible for maintaining all 120 relationships. I held my glass, moving effortlessly between the tables, chatting with every familiar executive. Many of them have worked with me since my first year. Our bond has long surpassed a simple business partnership. Mr. Chun, a procurement director of a famous group, patted my shoulder sincerely. Victor, you must handle our new project next year. I don't trust anyone else. Your business is my priority. Just then, the phone in my pocket vibrated wildly. I made an excuse to go to the restroom. In a quiet corner of the hallway, I opened the company group chat. It was flooded with celebratory red packets. Thanks, Mr. Marcus. My $150,000 bonus has arrived. Let's reach new heights next year. The one speaking was Sarah. She is my colleague. Her job is to organize my reports and then put her own name on them. I got $150,000 too. Innova Network is amazing this year. Rewards even without trying. Those $150,000 bonus screenshots were like slaps, silently hitting me in the face. I expressionlessly scrolled past the bright red and opened my mobile banking app. A new transfer record was waiting there. Amount, 6,800.00. Not a single word of thanks. Just a cold, round number. Like a small tip for an intern's hard work. I stared at that number for 10 seconds. No anger, no disappointment. The last spark of hope in my heart was completely extinguished. Only numb, cold ashes remained. The atmosphere at the main table was still lively. I put back on my professional smile, as if nothing had happened. Arthur, sitting next to me, was clinking glasses with someone. His elbow accidentally brushed against my phone. I instinctively tapped the screen to put it away. But that 6,800 figure flashed in his peripheral vision. Arthur's brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. He set down his glass and asked me casually, Victor, your company did so well this year. The year-end bonus must be quite high, right? Your colleagues in the group chat seemed thrilled. I met his gaze calmly and spoke a single number. 6,800. The noisy main table went instantly silent. Within a single second, every voice vanished. The nearby bosses all heard that number. Their expressions were a sight to behold. From initial shock to utter disbelief, and finally to a look of angry realization. They were all shrewd businessmen. Someone who provided them 24/7 service. The very lifeline of the company's business. Only got a measly 6,800. Yet those office workers they didn't even know were making 150,000. The implication was crystal clear. The atmosphere grew awkward and tense. But I acted as if nothing had happened. I raised my glass and stood before the silent table. I gave them a polite smile. Thank you all for your support this past year. This toast is for you. I'll finish mine. Please drink as you like. I downed the glass in one go. The burning liquid scorched my throat, as if burning away years of suppressed exhaustion. I took the lead and shifted the topic to next year's market plan. My professionalism forced the dinner back on track. The clients kept exchanging glances. Their eyes were full of sympathy. The dinner finally came to a hurried end. The guests started to leave. Arthur was the last one out. As he passed me, he stopped, with eyes that had seen everything. He gave me a deep look. He whispered so only I could hear. Victor, you've been treated unfairly. This place isn't worth it. Contact me if you have any plans. I felt touched. Thank you, Arthur. After the last guest left, I returned to my empty home alone. Unlike my usual routine, I didn't open my laptop to check work emails. Instead, I made myself a cup of tea. I felt neither anger nor sadness. When you completely lose hope in something, emotions become a useless luxury. I opened my laptop, but not for work. I created a new document titled Handover List. I began systematically listing everything. Every work process, every client's information, and every project's framework. My mind was terrifyingly clear. Then I looked at the calendar on the wall. A red circle marked a date 7 days away. Next to it were the words, contract expiry. My gaze was calm and firm, like a general about to press the launch button. Finally, I opened my phone. I found a headhunter I had added a month ago. They had asked if I was looking to switch jobs. I had replied, everything is stable. I deleted that message. I typed a new reply. I'm ready to talk. 6 days until contract expiry. I walked into the office. The air was thick with excitement. Everyone was beaming after getting their big bonuses. They were debating between trips to Europe or buying new cars. Sarah wore brand new, bright red high heels. She carried a luxury bag. Its designer logo was blindingly huge. She walked past me. She stopped at my desk on purpose. She casually set the bag on the corner of my desk. She complained loudly. I impulse bought this bag yesterday. It's not even that nice. Victor, what do you think? I didn't look up. I focused on the handover documents on my screen. It's fine, I replied coldly. Sarah's smile froze. She quickly raised her voice to the others. Everyone, to celebrate our success this year, I'm buying afternoon tea. Order whatever you want. The office erupted in cheers and applause. A crowd gathered around Sarah. They excitedly placed their orders on their phones. There was laughter everywhere. The small office became as loud as a market. No one asked if I wanted a drink. I was invisible. I was completely shut out. Beyond this celebration that had nothing to do with me. 3 p.m. Marcus, the boss, walked in with his signature beer belly. He appeared in the office with a glowing face. He clapped his hands. Everyone fell silent. They looked at him with admiration. This year, our company achieved unprecedented success. This is all thanks to the hard work of everyone here. His voice was loud and booming. His gaze swept over Sarah and the other employees who received high bonuses. He had an approving smile on his face. I've always said, Innova Network never mistreats those who strive. As long as you work hard, the company will surely notice. I hope everyone continues to work hard next year. Let's double the bonuses. He passionately made these grand promises. But those shrewd eyes, as if by design, perfectly avoided looking at me. It was as if I, the person who brought in 90% of the business, didn't belong among the hard workers at all. After his speech, Marcus gestured for me to come over. I stood up calmly. I followed him and closed the office door. Marcus's smile faded slightly. He put on a serious, sincere expression. Victor, don't overthink this year's situation. I know you've contributed a lot. The company recognizes your efforts. I held my water cup, quietly watching his performance. But you must understand, your success is mostly due to the company's platform. Without the Innova Network name, those big clients wouldn't even know you. Sarah and the others might not be as skilled as you, but they put a lot of effort into internal coordination and management. He began his usual tactics, constantly trying to brainwash me. My bonus might be a bit low this year, but he said it was based on many factors. He told me I was still young and should look at the long term. If I kept up this momentum next year, he promised my bonus would be the biggest. I nodded with the right amount of gratitude and obedience. I understand. I'll keep working hard. Marcus was clearly satisfied with my cooperation. He thought this useful workhorse had been completely tamed. I walked out of the office. I heard sounds coming from the break room. Sarah and some colleagues were snickering. I walked past them with a blank face and returned to my desk. Their malicious words were like the buzzing of flies. They no longer bothered me. I opened an encrypted folder. Inside was a 50-page document. The title was Core Client Relations Manual. This manual recorded more than just contact info and contracts. It detailed the complex office politics and the personal preferences of every decision maker. This was the result of years of my hard work. It was the true lifeblood of these 120 clients. I calmly encrypted the core data and uploaded it to my private cloud. Once I was finished, I felt a heavy weight lift off my shoulders. Just then, Marcus walked out of his office. He made a proud announcement. I have good news for everyone. We've landed another new project. The client specifically asked for our best team. Victor, I'm putting you in charge of this. Everyone's eyes were on me. They were filled with jealousy and spite. I looked up at Marcus's arrogant face. For the first time, I refused him directly. My contract expires in 6 days. I can't guarantee this project's continuity. I'm doing this for the client's sake. The entire office went silent. 5 days before my contract expired, the peace was broken by a frantic phone call. It was from our biggest and oldest client. Apex Group's system had a major bug. Their entire production line had stopped. Technical support searched for 2 hours, but they were helpless. As the nominal contact person, Sarah was being scolded by Apex Group's CTO. He was tearing her apart over the phone. All she could say was, "We are working on it." She had no answers to his questions. Finally, Apex Group called. They called Marcus directly. The caller's voice was freezing. He gave an ultimatum and demanded that I handle it. He said if it wasn't fixed in 2 hours, they would terminate the partnership and sue the company for breach of contract. Marcus's face turned pale. Apex Group's orders. They account for nearly 20% of the company's annual revenue. Losing them would be like losing a limb. He was sweating profusely from panic. He no longer cared about his pride. He rushed over to my desk. His tone was humbler than ever before. Victor, Apex Group's system is having issues. You need to fix it immediately. Everyone in the office watched this happen. Their expressions were complicated. I didn't set any conditions. I didn't play hard to get. I just calmly closed my notebook. I put on my headphones and remotely connected to Apex's server. Inside the office, Marcus and the technicians gathered behind me. They didn't even dare to breathe. Sarah stood at the very back. Her face turned pale and twisted. Her eyes were full of spite. Code scrolled rapidly across the screen. Relying on my knowledge of the system and 5 years of maintenance experience, along with the last system upgrade, where I had predicted potential vulnerabilities, I quickly found the root of the problem. The technical staff didn't understand the system architecture. They couldn't find the issue at all. My hands flew across the keyboard. I modified the code, restarted the services, and cleared the cache. My actions were seamless. 1 hour later, I took off my headset and told Marcus it was fixed. Almost immediately, my phone rang. It was the CTO of Apex Group calling personally. "Victor, thank you so much. You're a lifesaver. The production line is back up," he said, sounding relieved. Then his tone shifted. He spoke suggestively. "Look, buddy, honestly, between us, a talent like you is wasted at a place like Innova Network. That company isn't worth your time." I just smiled. With the crisis resolved, Marcus breathed a sigh of relief. But he no longer looked at me with gratitude. Instead, his eyes were full of fear and resentment. He realized that this employee he once manipulated so easily now possessed skills far beyond his control. Seeing this, Sarah immediately leaned in toward Marcus. She began whispering poison in his ear. Manager Marcus, do you think he held back on purpose? Maybe he wanted to hold the company hostage, just to force you into a deal? Her words hit exactly what Marcus was already thinking. He preferred to believe his employees were sabotaging him, rather than admit his own judgment was flawed. He looked at me, his eyes full of growing suspicion. I didn't care what they were thinking. The crisis was resolved. My task was complete. I printed out a document, walked to Marcus's desk, and set it down. Manager Marcus, here is my handover list. Please review it and assign someone to take over. Marcus picked up the list and flipped through it. It only listed the 120 client names, standard contracts, and public contact information. As for the core details, the things built on personal experience and relationships, the core client relations manual, key network maps, and communication tips were all missing. It was a procedurally perfect list, but completely useless in practice. For days before my contract expired, Marcus finally assigned Sarah to take over my work. This was his way of asserting dominance. He wanted to show me that my most vital work could easily be handled by someone he liked. Sarah held that empty list, as if she were holding a royal decree. She sat across from me, looking arrogant. Victor, go through these one by one. Tell me about each client's specific habits and what they like to hear. Her tone didn't sound like a work handover. It was more like an interrogation. I opened the list. Pointing at the first client, I said, Apex Group's Procurement Director, Arthur. Arthur, the Procurement Director. Phone number, 139-666-888. This is all public company information. The contract terms are right here. Special requirements are listed in Appendix 3. Everything is standard and documented. Wait, who wants to hear that? I want to know the unspoken rules. The things that aren't in the documents. What brand of tea does he like? What should I watch for when dining with him? I looked at her calmly and said, my handover is limited to the records on this list. Standardized information belonging to the company. As for my personal friendship with Arthur and my personal communication experience, those belong to me. They are not part of the handover. Sarah's face turned red with rage. You're being uncooperative. Victor, don't think you're special just because you're leaving. Victor's voice became sharp. It sounded piercing in the quiet office. He leaned back in his chair, looking at her. For the first time in front of everyone, he showed blatant aggression. Which part of my handover documents? Do you not understand? Or is it that with your skills, you can't grasp these basic client files? This hit Sarah's incompetence right where it hurt. Her face turned pale instantly. Her lips trembled. She couldn't say a word back. Colleagues began to whisper. Some gloated over Sarah making a fool of herself. They felt she usually acted like a tyrant. Now she finally met her match. Others thought Victor was being too arrogant, defying the boss's favorite just because he's leaving. As things spiraled out of control, Marcus, the boss, had to come out of his office. Enough, we're all colleagues. Let's talk calmly. He cleared his throat. He turned to Victor and spoke in a patronizing tone. Victor, be more generous. Sarah is only doing her job. Just share some of your experience with her. It's all for the good of the company. I looked at Marcus's hypocritical face. I found it hilarious. Marcus, experience can only be gained through actual practice. If she needs me to hold her hand, for even the simplest client relations, I suggest the company reevaluates whether she is fit for this role. My words were like a sharp blade. They tore through Sarah's pride. Marcus's face darkened completely. The office fell into a deathly silence. Amidst the frozen atmosphere, my phone vibrated. I checked it. It was a message from Arthur. He sent a beautifully designed e-offer. It was from a new company I had never heard of. The position offered was senior partner. The salary and benefits were incredible. It was an offer I couldn't refuse. I locked my phone. I looked up and met Marcus's cold gaze. I felt a sense of relief I had never known. I'm done with this mess. One day until my contract expires. This was my last day at Innova Network. I spent the morning cleaning out my desk. I packed all my personal items into a box. I permanently deleted all my personal files. Other than the company computer and phone, the desk was empty. It was as if I had never been here. Colleagues gathered in small groups. They offered fake pleasantries. But in their eyes, there was no desire for me to stay. They were just waiting to watch me fail. To them, without the company platform, a tech geek like me was worthless. They thought society would beat me down, and I would eventually regret leaving Innova Network. Sarah didn't hide her contempt. She crossed her arms and said sarcastically, "Oh, someone thinks they are a big shot now, without a platform like Innova Network to cover for your mistakes. Let's see if you can still act so tough." I just smiled and deleted the final file. In the afternoon, Marcus called me for one last talk. Sitting in his large executive chair, he spoke to me in a condescending tone. "Victor, although your recent behavior was unprofessional, I will consider your years of hard work. I won't hold a grudge. Our doors are always open to you. Of course, we would have to renegotiate your salary then." He likely thought he was being extremely generous. I looked at him and smiled politely. I said softly, "Marcus, I hope you can still smile after I'm gone." 5:30 p.m. It was time to leave. I picked up my box. I pressed my fingerprint on the scanner for the last time. I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I didn't look back once. Through the sympathy, the mockery, and the indifferent stares of the office, I calmly walked out of this place, where I had sacrificed years of my youth. At the same time, in the chairman's office, Marcus's phone was ringing off the hook. Hundreds of companies all wanted to end their partnership with Innova Network. Even with better terms offered, they refused to work with them anymore. The only reason was my resignation. Marcus panicked. He gripped his phone so hard the screen protector cracked. Quickly, bring Victor back to me. The first morning after leaving, I wasn't woken up by an alarm. I was woken by the sound of birds outside, wearing simple sportswear. I went for a jog in the park downstairs. That cubicle full of schemes. Even the air feels extra fresh. Looking at the reflection on the lake, I don't feel the anxiety of unemployment as I expected. Instead, I feel a sense of total control. My phone vibrates in my pocket. I take it out to look. It's a message from a group. Although I left the main company group, a close colleague from the tech department sent me a private message. Victor, did you really leave? Apex Group is pushing for progress again today. Sarah is so angry she's throwing cups in the office. Marcus's face is as dark as coal. My contract ended. It's a normal resignation. You'll have to handle their work from now on. I close the chat box. A cold smile plays on my lips. I know Innova Network structure too well. It is a skyscraper built on sand. And I was the most critical foundation stone. By removing myself, I didn't just take the technology with me. Right now, the Innova Network office must be in a complete mess. Sarah is sitting at my old desk, staring at a dense client requirement sheet. She used to only sign papers and collect bonuses. Now, facing these tricky demands, she can't even understand the first line of code. What is this garbage? Did Victor hold something back on purpose? Why isn't this interface connecting? The technician next to her shrank back. He whispered an explanation. This was the compatibility logic Victor wrote, specifically for the old Apex Group system. It wasn't written in the documentation. It was all in his head. I sat on a bench, watching the sunset in the distance. Marcus, this is just the beginning. I will make you watch your so-called platform crumble bit by bit without its true core. I flipped through a headhunter's industry report. The phone rings suddenly. A familiar number flashes on the screen. I let it ring for 30 seconds before slowly answering. Victor, how is your rest at home? You left so suddenly. We didn't even have time for a farewell dinner. You're too kind, Marcus. I think things are fine right now. It's quiet. The line goes silent for a few seconds. Then I hear Marcus's heavy breathing. He must be drowning in complaint calls. Actually, accounting made a mistake. I've already scolded them. How about this? I'll personally give you a 100,000 bonus. I'll promote you to senior director. What do you think? I'll personally give you a 100,000 bonus. And the senior director position. Listening to his hollow promises, I only felt disgusted. If Apex Group and the other major clients hadn't threatened to pull their investment, he wouldn't even have made this call. After hanging up, I blocked his number. I blocked him immediately. He thinks I'm cheap labor who wags his tail for a bone. Through years of patience, I've seen through his greed and short-sightedness. The night grew darker outside. I named the file Set Sail. I'm not just leaving. I'm taking everything that belongs to me. I'll turn Innova Network into an empty shell. 5 days after resigning, Arthur from Apex Group invited me for tea. 5 days after leaving, Arthur, the procurement director, asked to meet. He is an extremely shrewd man. He was my most valued partner at Innova. The room was filled with the scent of tea. He looked at me with a wise and knowing gaze. Innova Network is completely falling apart. Marcus brought a team here yesterday and talked for hours. They couldn't even come up with a solid plan. Sarah was only there to say sweet words. Sorry you had to see that, Victor. It has nothing to do with me. He leaned forward. His tone became serious. Honestly, Apex Group only trusts you. Without you in charge, we don't feel safe working with Innova Network. I've already told legal to start the termination process. I took a sip of tea. I didn't show any surprise. Everything was going exactly as I expected. Victor, are you interested in starting your own business? I'll give you the first contract from Apex Group. This was a heavy promise, but I knew it wasn't the right time yet. A man like Marcus, unless he falls hard and feels the pain, he will never understand what regret means. Thank you for your kindness, Arthur. I plan to lie low for a while. I need to clear my head and organize my ideas. You'll be the first person I call. The night breeze was cool as I left the tea room. I looked back at the CBD fading into the darkness. I already had a grand plan in mind. My goal isn't just to work for another company. It's about establishing rules that truly respect technology and respect talent. This week, the atmosphere at Innova Network grew thick with tension. Although I wasn't there, those strivers who took the 150K bonuses but couldn't deliver results have already started blaming each other. As the nominal manager, Sarah became the target of everyone's anger. Sarah, you were the one who signed off on these requirements. Now the logic doesn't work. You can't just leave us stuck here every day. So what if I sign them? Didn't I give you the documents that Victor left behind? You all graduated from prestigious universities, yet you can't even understand his amateur code? These arguments happened every day. Marcus hid in his office, afraid to come out. He thought promoting Sarah would stabilize the situation, but he didn't realize that besides office politics, she had no ability to solve a technical crisis. Right now, Marcus is staring blankly at several stern legal letters on his desk. Marcus stared blankly at the harsh legal notices on his desk. Apex Group wants to terminate the contract. 2 other core partners are also hesitating. The reputation he spent years building is crumbling. Everything is collapsing because of my departure. Sarah, didn't you say we'd be fine without Victor? Sarah stood before the desk. Her head was down, her former arrogance completely gone. She realized that Victor, whom she used to mock and treated as expendable, was actually essential. Marcus, why don't we find an excuse to sue him for stealing trade secrets? Force him to return and hand over the core code. Marcus looked up. Malice flashed in his eyes, but he mostly felt helpless. He knew if he took this step, There would be no turning back. Meanwhile, I was sitting at my computer at home. Market data shows the company's value dropping, watching them sink further into the abyss. It was the first week since my contract officially ended. I kept my study perfectly organized. The walls were covered with new project blueprints. I rejected 3 headhunters this week. I also ignored dozens of apology texts from Marcus. I was waiting for the chance to finish Innova Network for good. My phone rang. It was a voice message from Arthur. He sounded frantic. Victor, Marcus has gone mad. He posted an announcement to the industry group, claiming you stole the company's core technology. He's teaming up with other companies to blacklist me. But those original patent drafts, who actually holds them? I calmly opened an encrypted folder. Inside core tech breakthroughs were R&D logs that I began organizing during my first year. Every core technology breakthrough has a detailed timestamp and original code record. I calmly opened an encrypted folder. Inside core tech breakthroughs was a log from my first year. R&D logs I started organizing back then. Every single core breakthrough has a detailed timestamp and original code record. Marcus wants to play legal games? Then I'll play with him until the end. That afternoon, I arrived downtown. At the entrance of a startup incubator, Arthur had already made the arrangements. The space wasn't big, but it was enough for my first step. From today on, this is Azure Tech. I stood by the window, looking at the busy streets below. I knew Marcus's blacklist would soon become a joke. When the client's screwed over by Innova Network, see me return, they will make the smartest choice. Meanwhile, at Innova Network, they were lost in their final madness. Marcus and Sarah thought they had leverage, but they didn't realize they were walking straight into the grave I dug for them. Marcus's blacklist spread like a cold wind through the industry. I sat at my newly rented desk, reading apology texts from several headhunters. I wasn't bothered at all. They were polite, but the message was clear. Marcus used his influence at the association and the company's backing Innova Network. I expected these childish tactics. I kept sketching the logic for the new system. Then, I heard footsteps at the door. It was Benny, who used to work under me in tech. Marcus is forcing us to crack that encryption. He'll cut the team's bonuses if we fail. I can't take it anymore. Sit down. Did you get your resignation papers? Did Marcus give you trouble? Benny shook his head, his eyes turning red. He said everyone is living in fear. To avoid blame, Sarah checks daily for anyone contacting me. Victor, if you need someone, I want to work for you. A warmth touched my heart. Marcus thinks power can destroy my career. But he forgot one thing. You can't buy loyalty through fear. I will still pay you. In fact, it will be even more than before. But first, we need to deal with his industry ban. I opened my computer and logged into an old tech forum. There, I am not just Victor. I am a top expert with thousands of followers. Marcus wants to ruin my reputation. I will show him what real dominance looks like. Day 10 of being unemployed. I unexpectedly got a call from Sarah. Her tone was surprisingly gentle. She asked to meet. She said she wanted to apologize for the company. I knew it was a trap, but I still went. I wanted to see what Marcus planned and what trick she had left. In the private dining room, Sarah was dressed to impress. The table was full of expensive food. Sarah, she tried to grab my arm affectionately. Victor, I was immature before. Don't hold it against me. Marcus said, as long as you provide the formal technical licensing for that system, our cooperation will resume immediately. The company will even pay you a consulting fee. Do you even believe that? The key is my personal intellectual property. It was clearly stated in the contract. Sarah's smile froze. Her expression turned vicious. Sarah's smile froze. Her expression turned vicious. She took a recording pen out of her bag. She slammed it on the table. Victor, don't do this the hard way. Marcus has already hired experts. If you don't agree today, we will sue you for planting a virus before you left. You caused the company system to crash. This pen contains your confession. I looked at her confident face. It was just ridiculous. She doesn't know that my phone has been uploading video to the cloud since I arrived. Is that so? I also want the judge to hear how you try to coerce me into giving up my property. I didn't even look at the food on the table. Sarah screamed in rage behind me. I was already thinking about how to use this threat against Innova Network. While Marcus was busy with his schemes, I received some critical news. Innova is bidding for the city's smart city project. It is their last lifeline. To win the bid, Marcus is going all in. He even went as far as using a lot of my previous work in his proposal. Benny looked at me nervously from his computer. If they just reskin your plan and submit it, what do we do? We don't have a reputation yet. It will be hard to prove it's ours. Don't worry. I left more than just logic in that plan. In the core architecture, I buried a logic trap only I can trigger. Once the system reaches a certain scale, without my authorization certificate, a copyright notice will pop up automatically. The entire interface will show the notice. Marcus thinks he is safe now that he has the code. He doesn't realize he's digging his own grave. It is the beginning of his end. On the day of the preliminary review, I attended as a technical consultant for another firm. I sat quietly in the back row. Marcus stood on stage, presenting with confidence. Sarah clapped enthusiastically from her seat. This is the core engine independently developed by Innova Network. Its stability leads the industry. But the moment he pressed the stress test button, the smooth system suddenly lagged. Then, a giant pop-up appeared on the big screen. It clearly stated, this core architecture belongs to Victor. Use is unauthorized. This is an illegal copyright infringement. The audience broke into an uproar. Marcus's face turned from red to white, then to blue. He hammered the keyboard frantically. But the system was completely locked. I sat in the shadows, watching his pathetic struggle. I gently closed my laptop. After the bidding scandal broke out, Innova Network's reputation hit rock bottom. Several small partners who were previously hesitant sent letters to terminate their cooperation. I heard that in his office, Marcus smashed everything in sight. He even slapped Sarah. Innova Network isn't just losing money anymore. It is completely collapsing. The technical staff began to resign in large numbers. Even if Marcus promised double salary, he couldn't keep the staff. This afternoon, after I finished a new contract, I saw several familiar faces at the company entrance. They were the core technical backbone of Innova Network. People Sarah had tried very hard to recruit. Victor, brother Victor, we want to come and work for you. We were foolish before, blinded by Marcus's small bonuses. The company welcomes talent, but the rules must be set first. Here, technology speaks. No office politics. No brown nosing. I arranged their onboarding process. I knew this wasn't just hiring a few people. It was completely cutting off Innova Network's roots. In Marcus's hands now, except for a few old servers. He has nothing left. In the evening, Arthur called me. Victor, well done. Marcus is looking for connections everywhere to suppress the copyright issue, but the city's investigation team has already entered Innova Network. I'm afraid he won't escape prison this time. This is only what he deserves. Arthur, our project can officially start now. I hung up the phone, looking at the bright city lights outside the window. My era is fast approaching, and the death knell has rung for Marcus. Innova Network is now nothing but an empty shell. The once busy office is now deserted, leaving behind a total mess. Marcus locked himself in his office. He hasn't seen anyone for days. Sarah has disappeared too. I heard she took the last bit of cash from the company and fled the country. But before people like Marcus are fully destroyed, they always strike back with desperation. Late at night, I just parked my car and was heading upstairs. A shadow suddenly lunged from behind a pillar, under the dim light. I recognized his twisted face. It was Marcus, clutching a folding knife. With wild eyes, he screamed, Victor, why won't you let this go? I gave you money. I gave you shares. Why must you drive me to a dead end? You destroyed Innova yourself. From the moment you cut the year-end bonuses and manipulated your employees. I didn't back away. I just stared calmly into his eyes. I knew that showing fear now would only make him more violent. I have nowhere else to go, Marcus yelled. Since I'm finished, I won't let you off easy. He lunged at me. I dodged to the side. I grabbed his wrist. Years of exercise saved me. The folding knife fell to the ground. At that same moment, police sirens echoed in the garage. I had activated the emergency alarm on my phone long ago. As Marcus was pinned to the ground, he let out a beast-like howl. What you should regret isn't the bonus, but that you never respected anyone. I picked up my car keys. I walked into the elevator without looking back. Tomorrow, Azure Tech will officially become the Azure Group. The day after Marcus was arrested, I returned to this familiar yet strange place. This time, I wasn't here to work for them. I was here as a creditor and potential buyer. The office looked like a typhoon had hit it. Files were scattered everywhere. The once arrogant department heads now sat dejected at their desks. Their eyes were filled with confusion. I walked straight into Marcus's office. The large mahogany desk was still there, but its owner was now a prisoner. Several court officials were sealing the financial records. Mr. Victor, based on the preliminary liquidation, Innova Network's debts far exceed its assets. Are you sure you want to take over this mess? I only want the usage rights to their servers and the ownership of those core patents. I turned around and saw a few employees who hadn't left yet, peeking through the crack in the door. Some had mocked me when my bonus was cut. Now, they looked at me with pleading eyes. I turned around and saw a few employees who hadn't left yet, peeking through the crack in the door. Some had mocked me when my bonus was cut. Now, they looked at me with pleading eyes. If you want to stay, go to Benny for a re-interview. The days of getting bonuses by sucking up won't work at Azure Tech. Seeing their ashamed yet relieved faces, I didn't feel much satisfaction. This industry is ruthless. When you have no value, even dignity is a luxury. I walked to the window and looked at the busy street below. The Innova Network sign will soon be taken down. But this is only the first step of my expansion. Within the mess Marcus left behind was a secret I never expected. The data Sarah took is more complex than I thought, much more complex than I imagined. After taking over the Innova Network servers, Benny and I pulled 2 all-nighters. We found that Sarah didn't just take the cash. She used her authority as administrative director to wipe the company's backup database. Even worse, she stole an unfinished military encryption draft. Victor, even though you wrote that draft, if she sells it to a competitor and they sue us for infringement, we won't be able to clear our names. Sit down, Benny. With that level of encryption, no one but me has the full decryption algorithm. It's a hot potato for anyone else. I stared at the flashing code on the screen, thinking about where Sarah could be. She is a very vain person. She would never live a quiet life in poverty. Someone as vain as her would never hide away and suffer. Just then, I received an anonymous email. Attached was a photo from an overseas casino. Sarah was still dressed glamorously. She looked as flashy as ever. But the man sitting across from her made me frown. That is a notorious data hunter in our industry. Slade made his fortune trading trade secrets. So, she already found a new buyer. Marcus is currently behind bars. Yet Sarah is out here selling out to Slade. They really are a perfect match. I didn't rush to call the police. An old fox like Slade won't pay until he sees the real value. I sent Slade a short message. That thing has a backdoor. Don't touch it if you want to stay alive. I am waiting. Waiting for them to come to me. This isn't just about recovering the data. It is about cleaning up this toxic industry. I will wipe the slate clean at Azure Tech. The day after Slade got my message, he finally lost his cool. He asked me to meet at a private riverside club. He insisted that I come alone. I arrived as scheduled. The room was thick with smoke. Slade was smiling like a jolly Buddha. Sarah was sitting right beside him. Her face was quite pale. Victor, I have heard a lot about you. Young people today are truly remarkable. Even someone as shrewd as Marcus fell at your hands. Slade, let's skip the small talk. I am Victor. You can't handle what Sarah is holding. Sarah stood up suddenly. Her voice turned sharp with fear and anger. Victor, stop playing these tricks. Slade already had experts check it. This plan can be used commercially with minor changes. By then, you will be the one infringing on rights. Experts? You mean those third-rate programmers who can't even handle multi-site concurrency? Experts? You mean those third-rate programmers who can't even handle multi-site concurrency? Try running the third module of that protocol now. See if your server burns down. Slade's face turned pale. He signaled his men to open the laptop. As the program started, the red warning lights began flashing wildly on the screen. 2 ERWFGQMDBCZC. What's happening? Stop it now. Without my dynamic authorization, any forced access will trigger a self-destruct program. I watched Sarah collapse into her chair. Her gaze was hollow. Her final trump card was as fragile as paper before me. A businessman like Slade knows exactly when to cut his losses. He slapped Sarah hard across the face. His voice was chillingly cold. Slade's slap was incredibly heavy. Half of Sarah's face swelled instantly. She covered her face, too scared to speak. Her eyes were filled with despair. To someone like Slade, Sarah was no longer a cash cow. She had become a time bomb. Mr. Victor, it's a misunderstanding. This woman lied and said the work was hers. Haha. The law will deal with her. You've been asking about the Smart City Project Phase 2 bid lately. A veteran like Slade immediately understood my hidden meaning. Fine beads of sweat broke out on his forehead. He nodded frantically. A small company like ours wouldn't dare compete. I took back the USB drive with the raw data. While Slade watched, I called the Economic Crime Unit. When Sarah heard the sirens, she collapsed to the floor like a rag doll. She tried to grab my leg to beg for mercy, but I coldly stepped aside. Victor, I was wrong. I'll give you all the money back. Please, don't let me go to jail. The moment you chose to steal our core data. As I watched Sarah being taken away in a police car, the last bit of gloom in my heart vanished. But this isn't the end. The powerful forces behind Slade won't just stand by and watch an outsider like me grow and succeed so easily. On the way back to the office, Arthur called me. He sounded quite worried. He said the industry leader, Empyrean Group, has been frequently contacting our partners. It seems they intend to acquire us. After dealing with Sarah and Slade, before I could even catch my breath, Empyrean's acquisition proposal was already sitting on my desk. Empyrean is an industry giant. They are used to buying their way through any obstacle. Submit and prosper, or resist and perish. Sitting before me was Empyrean's investment director, a woman with a sharp gaze. Mr. Victor, $200 million in cash plus 3% in options. This price is enough for your entire team to achieve financial freedom. The offer was very tempting. Morgan adjusted her glasses. Her tone carried a hint of a threat. If you refuse, Empyrean will trigger an industry-wide resource integration. When that happens, your entire supply chain will face unforeseen obstacles. If you refuse, Empyrean will consolidate all resources against you. Your suppliers will all abandon you. Don't ruin your future for your so-called ideals. I looked at the letter of intent from Empyrean Group. I sneered in my heart. This was exactly how Marcus used to threaten me. Empyrean Group is just richer. They just have more influence. But I wasn't born yesterday. A future is something you fight for, not something given as charity. Tell your boss for me. Azure Tech is not for sale. I'll see you in court or on the market. Morgan clicked her high heels and left in a rage. Benny walked in looking worried. He looked at my expression. I pulled up the project from the last few months. The Gen 2 computing engine I developed in secret. It was designed specifically for Empyrean's technical flaws. If they dare to block me using technology, I will show them what a real technological revolution looks like. What a real revolution looks like. If they dare to block me, I will show them what a real technological revolution is. Empyrean Group's revenge came faster than I thought, and it is even more ruthless. 11 p.m. My office lights were still on. When Benny pushed the door open, he was holding a stack of freshly printed faxes. His face was as pale as a ghost. Victor, something's wrong. The 3 server manufacturers, who signed long-term contracts with us, just sent notices at the same time. They are delaying our orders indefinitely. Indefinite delay. That is no different from cutting us off completely. Empyrean intends to choke our hardware supply first. I walked to the window, looking down at the empty street. It seems Empyrean intends to choke our hardware supply first. I walked to the window, looking down at the empty street. Empyrean didn't just go after the suppliers. They also contacted major cloud platforms to try and remove our products from the app stores. They want to turn Azure Tech into an isolated island. They want us to have the technology, but no way to launch it. Morgan moved very fast. Benny, tell everyone to work from home starting tomorrow. All company test servers have been moved to the internal network. I open my laptop. I look at the list of suppliers who betrayed us. I don't feel much anger. Instead, I feel the calmness of a hunter watching his prey enter a trap. They think capital can monopolize the supply chain. But they forgot that in this era where data is king, hardware is just a carrier. They think capital can monopolize the supply chain. But they forgot that in this era where data is king, hardware is just a carrier. But Victor, without these servers, our Gen 2 computing engine cannot go online for testing. Who said we were going to use their servers? Since they want to play dirty. System code loading. I prepared this for extreme situations. This is a technical prototype I kept in reserve. Empyrean Group thinks they can starve me by cutting off the water. But they don't know. I already dug a deep well underground long ago. Under Empyrean Group's total boycott. The entire industry is waiting to see me fail. Early the next morning, I appear in Arthur's office at Apex Group. He is staring out the window with a deep frown. A cooperation proposal from Empyrean Group lies on his desk. Under Empyrean Group's total boycott. The entire industry is waiting for me to fail. Early the next morning, I appear in Arthur's office at Apex Group. He is staring out the window with a deep frown. A cooperation proposal from Empyrean Group lies on his desk. Victor, Empyrean's people came to see me yesterday. If Apex Group stops working with Azure Tech for the next 5 years, all our maintenance fees will be halved. Arthur, their chains might be easier to wear. But once Apex moves its systems to Empyrean's cloud, you won't have a say if they raise the prices later. Arthur turns and looks into my eyes. He is a pure businessman. But he is also a visionary strategist. He is weighing his options. Does he choose small, immediate profits? Or a future that could change the rules? He is weighing it. Small profits now? Or a future that changes the rules? Victor, tell me the truth. Empyrean cut off your hardware. How can you fight them? I don't need their hardware. Arthur, Apex has over 3,000 branches nationwide. Each one has idle computing resources. I can take these fragments to build a computing network more powerful than Empyrean's. Arthur's eyes lit up. He knew what this meant. It wasn't just about saving money. It meant Apex could finally break free from the giants. He slammed the table and tore Empyrean's proposal to shreds. 7. All Apex nodes are now open to you. I walked out of the Apex building. I breathed a sigh of relief. Empyrean thinks they've blocked the ocean, but they don't realize that in the places they can't see, I've already gathered 1,000 streams. While I was making a secret deal with Apex, Empyrean launched a media attack. Suddenly, the internet was flooded with articles smearing Azure Tech. They claimed our system has major security flaws and even accused us of illegal data collection. Victor, this is pure slander. Our code is open source and audited. We would never steal user data. They don't care about the truth. They just want the clients to doubt us. Once the seed of doubt is planted, our product launch will be paralyzed. I looked at the expert analyses. They were full of lies and insults toward our tech. Even clients who were originally interested are starting to back off because of the negative news. It is a clever move indeed. Yuan Liang played this very well. Several clients with clear intentions have already started to retreat. This move by Empyrean Group is a masterful psychological blow. Since they want a PR war, then we'll give them a big surprise. Take our Gen 2 computing engine security report to the world's top hacker challenge website. I'm offering a $1 million bounty to invite experts from all over the world to try and crack Azure Tech's firewall. This isn't just a response to the rumors. It's the ultimate advertisement. As soon as the news broke, the entire tech community exploded. The trolls hired by Empyrean were instantly silenced. In the face of absolute technical superiority, any rumors become pale and powerless. While everyone was focused on the challenge, I was watching a different set of data. The user churn rate of Empyrean Group's core products. The compatibility patch I hid in the Gen 2 computing engine is quietly stealing their clients. They aren't as united as they seem. In the 2 weeks spent blocking Azure Tech, Empyrean not only failed to crush us, but they also overextended their own resources. This caused their core business growth to stall. An old friend inside Empyrean Group sent me a message. He said their investment director and technical director are fighting constantly to block one small company. Look how many connections we used. And look at the result. Apex Group didn't just stay. They even took several major clients with them. That's because your tech department is useless. If you can't even cut off a small network, how do you have the nerve to ask for a budget? This internal friction is exactly what I wanted. Giants don't fear external challenges. They fear internal collapse. I sit in front of the computer, watching Empyrean Group's stock price plummet, calculating the time for the final strike. I sit in front of the computer, watching Empyrean Group's stock price plummet, calculating the time for the final strike. New York/London/Tokyo. Are you ready? Our Gen 3 engine is officially on Apex Group's network, launching its global beta test. This is a massive gamble. If it succeeds, Azure Tech will completely break the monopoly of the giants. If it fails, I will face even more ruthless revenge from Empyrean Group. At 8 o'clock sharp, as I hit the enter key, countless lights lit up on the digital map. Apex Group's nodes across the country were activated, forming a massive torrent of computing power. The moment the beta test began, Empyrean Group's headquarters fell into a deathly silence. Their proud defense system, faced with Azure Tech's new architecture, was as fragile as paper. 3 days after the beta's massive success, the industry's direction changed completely. Suppliers who once avoided me like the plague were now lining up at my office, but I didn't see any of them. Instead, I appeared at a private gala for top-tier elites. The chairman of Empyrean Group was there. He looked at me, his arrogance completely gone. Instead, there was respect for a rival, and a hint of hidden anxiety. Mr. Victor, the new generation is truly impressive. Our people were blind to your talent before. Why don't we discuss a deep strategic partnership? But Empyrean must apologize publicly first, and compensate Azure Tech for brand damages. The chairman's face twitched. It was like slapping his own face in public. But he looked at the crowd, at all the partners swarming around me. He knew he had no leverage left. Of course, you can refuse. But I heard several of Empyrean's core engineers are very interested in our new architecture. They have already submitted their resumes. This was the ultimate killing blow. I wasn't just stealing his clients. I was tearing out his roots. I raised my glass and took a small sip. I won this battle. But I knew this was just the start of a higher-level game. Empyrean's surrender is only temporary, and in the shadows, a much greater power was eyeing Azure Tech like a piece of meat. I walked out of the gala hall. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Watch your back. Just those 3 words. The noise of the party still echoed in my ears. I stared at the text on my phone. It stayed on the screen for a long time. The number used multiple virtual proxies. It was impossible to trace. I watched the car lights passing by below. For the first time, I felt it. In the deep waters of this business war, a pair of eyes was watching me from the shadows. I didn't tell Benny about this. I didn't want him to worry. These are the equity change records from the last 3 years. Empyrean Group is a giant, but the capital structure behind it is extremely complex. Oh, several offshore funds are looming in the background. Marcus, Sarah Slade. Empyrean wants to swallow me whole. It isn't just for market share. They are after something much deeper. Empyrean wants to swallow me whole. It isn't just for market share. They are after something much deeper. An alert suddenly popped up in my inbox. It came from the Gen 2 computing engine backend. Someone is attempting to gain access. They are using a protocol interface I've never seen before. They are scraping massive amounts of data from the Apex Group nodes. This is an Empyrean style. WXY, my UPN ups. This attack looks like it's from a professional overseas team. This attack looks like it's from a professional overseas team. I added several layers of dynamic firewalls to the system. My emergence didn't just take a piece of Empyrean's profit. I have alarmed some even bigger players. The real financial giants hidden behind the industry. That text might not have been a prank, but a late warning. The next morning, Empyrean Group's official apology arrived as promised. It was on the headlines of every major industry portal. The next morning, Empyrean Group's official apology arrived as promised. It was on the headlines of every major industry portal. The letter was written with sincere words. It blamed the previous blacklisting entirely on the unauthorized actions of a few executives. At the same time, tens of millions in compensation was transferred to Azure Tech's account. Victor, look. Everyone is calling us dragon-slaying heroes. Empyrean really messed up this time. Benny, never underestimate a giant's endurance. Their current surrender is only to buy some breathing room. While the whole industry was cheering for Azure, I received a strange invitation. An overseas firm called Aurora Capital wants to invite me to a closed-door meeting on future computing standards. While the whole industry was cheering for Azure, I received a strange invitation. An overseas firm called Aurora Capital wants to invite me. A closed-door meeting on future computing standards. This firm's background is unfathomable. They are the shadow behind many multinational giants. The person who sent me that warning text might be in this circle. Benny, book me a flight to Seabourn City. Since they've set the stage, it would look cowardly not to go. Before leaving, I went to the detention center to see the man who first tried to dismiss me with 6,800 yuan. Now, he might be the only one who can tell me who is really behind Empyrean Group. He might be the only one who can tell me who is really behind Empyrean Group. Behind the thick bulletproof glass, I saw Marcus. He was wearing a prison uniform. He was so thin he was unrecognizable. His eyes had lost their old shrewdness, replaced by a dead stillness. He gave a strange smile when he saw me. Still here for that same question? Who is really behind you? His fingers traced the table unconsciously. He leaned into the microphone. His voice was barely a whisper, as if afraid of breaking a taboo. His fingers traced the table unconsciously. He leaned into the microphone. His voice was very low, as if afraid of a taboo. I don't know their names. I only know they are called the Sweepers. They provide money and resources for only one purpose: to make all disobedient geniuses disappear. My heart sank. Marcus's words sounded absurd, but the fear in his eyes was real. Victor, run away. Leaving the detention center. The bright sun stung my eyes. Marcus's words weighed on me like a stone. He has a more powerful backer now. This business war was no longer about profit. It had become a hunt for survival. The wind in Seabourn City smelled of salt. Aurora Capital's meeting was on the top floor. Fewer than 10 people were there. When I walked in, everyone looked at me. A blond man sat in the center. He spoke fluent Chinese. Mr. Victor, your Gen 2 computing engine is excellent. Technology of this caliber shouldn't be held by a private company. Then who should have it? Aurora Capital? It is a technology escrow agreement. Azure Tech will upload its core code to Aurora Capital's designated cloud. They will handle global promotion and security. How is this different from robbery? Just then, the side door of the lounge opened. A familiar figure walked out. It was Sarah, dressed in professional business attire. Her eyes were filled with the thrill of revenge. Victor, don't be ungrateful. What Aurora Capital can offer is something Empyrean Group never could. If you don't sign by tomorrow, Azure Tech will be accused of endangering data security and blacklisted globally. I looked at Sarah. Surprisingly, I felt no anger. Only a sense of relief now that the dust had settled. So, this is the real opponent. I didn't refuse Sarah and Julian immediately. I made an excuse to think and went to the balcony. Seabourn City's night view was mesmerizing, but I knew that beneath these bright lights, countless attack commands targeting Azure Tech might have already been issued. I dialed Arthur's number. Arthur, start the plan early. They want the core code. Are you sure about this? Once it starts, there is no turning back. Instead of letting them slowly strangle us, I would rather just flip the table. I typed the complex command into my phone. This is the Trojan horse logic trap I prepared for Aurora Capital. Since they want the core code, I will give them something that looks perfect, but will actually paralyze their global distributed computing network. A special gift. Sarah walked up from behind. Her high heels clicked sharply on the quiet terrace. Have you decided? Victor, is this your final choice? Tell your new boss this for me. Azure Tech's property. They cannot take it, and they cannot handle it. Right in front of her, I tore the technology escrow agreement into pieces and threw them into the sea. Sarah's face twisted instantly, and I knew the real storm would arrive tomorrow morning. Aurora Capital's moves were crazier than expected. Before dawn even broke, global app stores removed all of Azure Tech's products. The reasons were all unfounded data security risks. The office phones were ringing nonstop. Partners who were already wavering under the pressure of multinational capital all sent notices to terminate their contracts. All overseas servers have been disconnected. Our Gen 2 computing engine is being framed as spyware. Azure Tech is in a major crisis. The whole world is boycotting us. What should we do? Benny, start Project Daybreak. Take the open source audit report we prepared and send it to the global tech alliances. I sit at the main console. I watched the warning zones on the screen turning red. Sarah appeared on the news. As a former executive, Sarah said, she is accusing me of stealing technology. Her self-righteous act has fooled many people who don't know the truth. She thinks she controls the narrative. But against pure technical logic, lies are as fragile as bubbles. I activated the monitoring nodes inside Aurora Capital. They want my code, don't they? Now they are busy in the lab, trying to crack the bait I intentionally left for them. I activated the monitoring nodes inside Aurora Capital. They want my code, don't they? Now they are busy in the lab, trying to crack the bait I left for them. The first light of dawn shines into the office. I know it is time to counterattack. This battle is not just for Azure Tech. It is to prove the truth. Technology shouldn't be a toy for corporate greed. Inside the Aurora Capital lab, a group of top hackers are celebrating. They think they bypassed my firewall and stole the Gen 2 computing engine's core algorithm. Sarah stands nearby. She is beaming with joy, as if she already sees me begging for mercy. Merge this code into our global financial system. We will rewrite the world's computing rules. The moment they hit the merge button, my office monitors suddenly flash with golden code. The moment they hit the merge button, my office monitors suddenly flash with golden code. I sip my coffee and whisper. In an instant, Aurora Capital's global system enters a dead loop. The logic bomb hidden in the code is now activated. It does not destroy data. Instead, it acts as a mirror. It takes Aurora Capital's years of exploits, their illegal profits, and evidence of market manipulation. It broadcasts everything live to every major media homepage in the world. What is happening? Why won't the screen turn off? Unplug it now. Aurora Capital's years of technical exploits, evidence of illegal profits and market manipulation, every bit of proof, is being broadcast live to the homepages of every major global media outlet. What is going on? The screen won't shut down. Pull the plug. It is a forced broadcast using decentralized computing. Unless the global internet is shut down, no one can stop the truth from spreading. Looking at the screen, at all those dirty transaction records popping up, the entire world fell silent. The siege originally aimed at Azure Tech, in this very second, has turned into a global trial for Aurora Capital. Guilty. Aurora Capital is collapsing. In the face of ironclad evidence, international investigators intervened immediately. Their executives are fleeing. And Sarah, the woman who betrayed me twice, who wanted to crush me under her feet, is currently carrying a heavy suitcase. Sarah, the two-time traitor, the woman who wanted to destroy me, is now holding a heavy suitcase. At the dock in the heavy rain, she is frantically searching for a boat. I hold a black umbrella, standing quietly at the only exit. Rain drips down the umbrella, washing away the city's filth. Victor, please let me go. I was forced to do this. Marcus and Aurora Capital made me do it. I have money. This suitcase is full of cash. It's all yours. Sarah, you still don't understand. Some things cannot be bought. Like a conscience. Like your lost dignity. Police sirens wail in the distance. Sarah collapses in the mud. The suitcase flips over. Stacks of cash get soaked. It looks pathetic and ironic. She looks at me. Her eyes finally show deep fear and regret. Sarah collapses in the mud. The suitcase flips over. Stacks of cash get soaked. It looks pathetic and ironic. She looks at me. Her eyes finally show deep fear and regret. If only, I hadn't tampered with that bonus list. Would everything have been different? There are no ifs in life. When you chose that 150,000 and trampled on the hard work of others, your ending was already written. The police took Sarah away. I closed my umbrella. I turned and walked toward the car parked by the road. Arthur was sitting inside. He gave me a thumbs up. This nightmare that lasted for months is finally over. 1 month later, Azure Tech was officially renamed Azure Group. The suppliers who once blacklisted us lined up to apologize. 1 month later, Azure Tech was officially renamed Azure Group. The suppliers who once blacklisted us lined up to apologize. Empyrean Group voluntarily gave up its core business just to seek a partnership with us. Apex Group became our strongest ally. The industry association revised the rules. Respecting intellectual property and fair pay was written on the first page of the charter. I stood on the top floor of the new headquarters. I looked at the thousands of cheering employees below. My heart felt unusually calm. Victor, you didn't just win a business war. You changed an entire industry. Now, you are the real rule maker. I want everyone who worked as hard as I did to get the year-end bonus they deserve. Benny ran over. He excitedly handed me a financial report. Benny ran over. He excitedly handed me a financial report. Victor, the year-end bonus plan is ready. The lowest tier starts at 150,000. Good. Tell everyone that as long as Azure Tech exists, hard workers will never be let down. Sunlight filled the office. I looked at what was hanging on the wall. The screenshot of that first 6,800 yuan transfer. That was my starting point. And my eternal warning. In the end, I returned to where it all began. The same hotel. The same private room. Even the dishes were almost identical. But this time, I am the one in the head seat, facing the 100 most powerful CEOs in the industry. Everyone chatted and laughed freely. The old awkwardness was completely gone. Arthur raised his glass. He looked at me with a beaming face. Everyone chatted and laughed freely. The old awkwardness was completely gone. Arthur raised his glass. He looked at me with a beaming face. Victor, for that 10 billion computing center next year, we are all counting on you. Don't worry, everyone. As long as I, Victor, am here, your business is my business. After several rounds of drinks, I made an excuse to go to the restroom. I walked onto the hotel terrace alone. The night breeze was cool. The city neon lights were bright. I opened the long-dormant group chat. Sarah and Marcus were long gone. They were replaced by energetic young people. They were excitedly messaging, discussing next year's technical breakthroughs. I turned off my phone and took a deep breath. From a worker with a 6,800 yuan bonus to the leader controlling the industry, I have come a long way and seen through a lot. I walked back to the bustling banquet hall. The moment I pushed the door open, the lights were dazzling, and the applause was thunderous.